There's a trader sitting in front of his screen right now, watching red candles cascade down like dominoes falling one after another. His heart races, his palms sweat. The position he entered just hours ago with absolute confidence has now turned against him. He knows where his stop loss sits, but his finger hovers over the mouse, paralyzed. Maybe it'll come back. Just one more minute. Just one more candle. That's when he makes the decision that separates the 95% who lose from the 5% who win. And it has nothing to do with technical analysis, chart patterns, or market conditions. It has everything to do with what's happening between his ears. The brutal truth about trading is that most people approach it completely backwards. They dive headfirst into learning indicators, memorizing candlestick patterns, and studying sophisticated strategies while their mind remains their greatest enemy. They're building a house on quicksand. Professional traders understand something that amateurs refuse to accept. Your strategy doesn't fail because it's bad. Your strategy fails because you can't execute it. The market doesn't care how many books you've read or how many hours you've spent backtesting. The market is neutral. It's your mind that turns opportunity into loss, discipline into chaos, and potential into regret. Consider what happens when most people start trading. They hear stories about traders turning thousands into millions. They see social media posts showing massive account balances, and they convince themselves that financial freedom sits just a few good trades away. This becomes their first and most devastating mistake. Trading isn't about getting rich quickly. Trading is about consistently executing a process with precision while the market does everything in its power to shake you out of that process. The moment you attach unrealistic expectations to your trading, you create a psychological pressure cooker that will explode at the worst possible moment. Fear and greed aren't just words that get tossed around in trading books. They're the invisible puppeteers controlling every decision you make. Fear whispers in your ear when you're looking at a perfect setup, telling you this time will be different, this time you'll lose. So you hesitate, you miss the entry, then you watch in agony as the trade plays out exactly as your analysis predicted, but without you in it. That's fear stealing money directly from your pocket. Then there's greed. The other side of this toxic coin. You're in a winning trade. Your target sits just ahead. Every fiber of your being knows you should take the profit, but greed whispers louder. What if it goes higher? What if you leave money on the table? So you wait. The market reverses. Your winner becomes a loser. That's greed snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. What most traders don't realize is that these emotions don't just randomly appear. They're symptoms of a deeper disease, the desperate need to be right. Amateur traders trade their ego. They enter positions to prove their analysis correct, to validate their intelligence, to show the market they know something others don't. When the market moves against them, they take it personally. They view losses as attacks on their competence rather than what they actually are, which is data. Professional traders abandoned ego long ago. They don't care about being right. They care about making money. These are fundamentally different objectives. When you need to be right, you hold losers too long, hoping they'll come back to prove your analysis correct. When you simply want to make money, you cut losers immediately because they're costing you capital that could be deployed elsewhere. The transformation from losing trader to profitable trader begins with a single, uncomfortable realization. You cannot control the market, but you can control everything about how you interact with it. Most traders spend their energy trying to predict where price will go next, as if the market cares about their predictions. The market is going to do whatever it does. Your job isn't to predict it. Your job is to react to it with a predetermined plan that removes emotion from the equation. This is where the concept of process over outcome becomes critical. Losing traders obsess over individual trades. They tie their self-worth to whether their last trade won or lost. They let one bad trade ruin their entire day, their entire week, their entire confidence, winning traders view each trade as nothing more than one execution of their edge, playing out over thousands of iterations. Think about a casino. The casino doesn't care if someone walks in and wins 10 hands of blackjack in a row. The casino isn't sitting there panicking about that player. Why? Because the casino thinks in probabilities. They know that over thousands of hands, their edge plays out. They know they don't need to win every hand. They just need their edge to express itself over volume. You need to become the casino. Your trading strategy is your edge. Every trade is simply another hand being dealt. Some you'll win, some you'll lose. Neither victory nor defeat means anything about you as a person or even as a trader. They're just outcomes in a probabilistic game. But here's where it gets difficult. Accepting that trading is probabilistic means accepting that you can do everything right and still lose. You can follow your rules perfectly, execute your strategy flawlessly, and the trade can still go against you. Most people cannot psychologically handle this reality. They need to believe that if they do everything correctly, they'll be rewarded immediately. They carry this mentality from conventional jobs where you put in 40 hours and you get paid for 40 hours. Trading doesn't work that way. You can put in 40 hours and end the week down money. This is why discipline becomes the ultimate differentiator. Discipline in trading means following your plan even when every instinct screams at you to do something else. It means taking the loss when your stop is hit, even when you're convinced the market will reverse in your favor any second. It means staying out of the market when conditions don't match your criteria, even when you feel an overwhelming urge to trade. It means keeping your position size consistent, even after a string of winners tempts you to leverage up. Discipline is doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, regardless of how you feel about it. This sounds simple. It's not. Because discipline requires something most traders never develop: trust in their system. You cannot execute a trading plan with discipline if you don't genuinely believe in that plan. This is why backtesting, journaling, and studying your results becomes crucial. You need proof that your edge exists. You need data showing that when you follow your rules, you come out ahead over a sample size of trades. Without this proof, the first sign of adversity will shatter your discipline. You'll start second-guessing your entries. You'll adjust your stops. You'll add positions that don't meet your criteria. You'll essentially abandon the very system that could make you profitable if you just follow it. Most traders think their problem is that they don't know enough. They believe the solution is more indicators, more strategies, more complexity. But complexity is the enemy of execution. The simplest systems, executed with flawless discipline, outperform the most sophisticated strategies executed emotionally every single time. This is why professional traders often use remarkably straightforward approaches. They're not looking for the Holy Grail. They're looking for an edge they can execute consistently without thinking. Because the moment you have to think about whether to follow your plan, emotion enters the equation. And emotion destroys accounts. Risk management sits at the core of this entire psychological framework. Every professional trader has internalized one fundamental truth: preservation of capital takes absolute priority over making money. This seems contradictory. How do you make money if your primary focus is not losing money? Because once you lose your capital, the game is over. You can't trade without money. Therefore, protecting your account becomes the foundation upon which all profitability is built. Amateur traders see risk management as an obstacle to profits. They view stop losses as something to be avoided or adjusted. They calculate position sizes based on how much they want to make, rather than how much they can afford to lose. They don't set maximum daily loss limits because they're convinced they'll make it all back. Professional traders approach risk management from the opposite direction. They determine their maximum risk first, before they even look for a trade. Most successful traders risk between 1 and 2% of their total capital on any single trade. This isn't arbitrary. This is mathematics. If you risk 2% per trade, you can lose 50 consecutive trades before your account goes to zero. 50 trades. You could be wrong for months and still have capital left to trade. This gives you the psychological freedom to execute your plan without fear, because no single trade can destroy you. Compare this to the amateur trader who risks 10% per trade because they want to grow their account faster. After 10 consecutive losers, which happens to every trader eventually, they've lost their entire account. Position sizing reveals everything about a trader's psychological state. Inconsistent position sizes expose fear and greed running the show. When you risk more on trades where you feel confident and less on trades where you're uncertain, you've just told the market that you're making emotional decisions. The market will punish emotional decisions. Consistent position sizing removes emotion from the equation. Every trade gets the same risk allocation. You're treating each setup equally because you understand that your feelings about individual trades mean nothing. Your edge doesn't care how confident you feel. It plays out over volume, not over conviction. This brings us to one of the most challenging psychological hurdles traders face: dealing with losses, not just accepting them intellectually, but genuinely becoming comfortable with them. Losses are not failures. Losses are not mistakes. Losses are the cost of doing business. If you're a retail store, you pay rent. If you're a trader, you pay losses. That's your rent. You cannot avoid it. You cannot eliminate it. You can only manage it. The trader who tries to avoid all losses is the trader who never cuts losers quickly, who moves stops to avoid getting stopped out, who adds to losing positions hoping to average down. These behaviors don't come from a trading strategy. They come from an inability to accept the basic reality of trading. You're going to lose money sometimes. The question isn't whether you'll have losing trades. The question is how quickly you recognize them and move on. Professional traders have detached their ego from individual trade outcomes. When they take a loss, they feel nothing. They record it in their journal. They verify they followed their rules, and they look for the next setup. That's it. There's no emotional reaction. There's no beating themselves up. There's no revenge trading. They simply collected data that says this particular trade didn't work, and they moved forward. This level of emotional detachment doesn't happen overnight. It's developed through experience, through taking enough losses that you realize they don't actually kill you, and through building trust in your system's ability to recover. But let's talk about the other side of this psychological coin: winning trades. Interestingly, winning trades create their own psychological dangers. When you have a big winner, dopamine floods your brain. You feel invincible. You feel like you've figured something out. This is when euphoria takes over. Euphoria is just as dangerous as fear. Euphoria makes you take trades outside your plan because you're on a hot streak. It makes you increase your position size because you're convinced you can't lose. It makes you hold winners too long because you're certain they'll go higher. Then the market corrects, and suddenly your big winner has evaporated, leaving you confused and angry. Learning to manage winning trades requires the same psychological discipline as managing losing trades. You follow your profit targets. You take your predetermined risk off the table. You don't let greed convince you to abandon your plan just because you're winning. The concept of emotional equilibrium becomes crucial here. Professional traders maintain the same emotional state, whether they're winning or losing. They're not celebrating after wins. They're not devastated after losses. They're in a constant state of neutral readiness. This might sound boring. It might even sound impossible. But this emotional flatline is what allows them to execute their system with precision. Because if you're emotionally reactive to outcomes, you cannot maintain consistency. And without consistency, you cannot be profitable long term. Trading journals become essential tools in this psychological development. Not because writing down trades is inherently valuable, but because the journal forces self-awareness. When you record not just what you traded, but how you felt before, during, and after the trade, patterns emerge. You start seeing that you take your worst trades when you're frustrated. You notice that you exit winners too early when you're afraid. You recognize that you overtrade when you're bored. These insights only come from documented reflection. Your memory is unreliable. Your brain will rewrite history to protect your ego. Your journal is an objective record that doesn't lie. Many traders document their trades, but never review them. This is like going to the gym and never actually lifting weights. The value isn't in having a journal. The value is in analyzing that journal to identify patterns in your behavior that are costing you money. Maybe you notice that you break your rules most often after 3 consecutive losses. Now you have actionable intelligence. You can create a rule that after 3 losses, you stop trading for the day. This removes emotion from the equation because you've predetermined your response to that situation. The relationship between patience and profitability cannot be overstated. The market doesn't care about your schedule. It doesn't care that you've been sitting in front of your screen for 6 hours without a valid setup. It doesn't care that you need to make back last week's losses. The market provides opportunities on its timeline, not yours. Impatient traders force trades. They see something that's close to their criteria, and they talk themselves into taking it because they're bored, because they need action, because they want to feel productive. Professional traders understand that doing nothing is often the best trade. They're comfortable sitting for hours, even days, waiting for their specific setup. Because they know that one high-quality trade executed with precision is worth more than 10 mediocre trades executed out of impatience. This patience requires something that most people struggle with: being comfortable with uncertainty and inaction. In regular life, people are rewarded for staying busy, for always doing something. Trading punishes busy. Trading rewards selective action. You're not getting paid by the hour. You're not getting graded on how many trades you take. You're getting graded on whether those trades you do take are profitable. Quality over quantity isn't just a nice saying. It's the difference between making and losing money. Here's something nobody talks about: the psychological challenge of sitting on your hands when you see other traders making money on setups you passed on. Social media makes this worse. You see someone post about the massive winner they just caught, and you start questioning why you're not in that trade. You start wondering if your criteria are too strict. You start feeling like you're missing out. This is where having confidence in your specific edge becomes critical. Your edge might be completely different from what works for someone else. Their winning trade might have violated your rules. If you had taken it, it might have been your loser. You cannot compare your journey to anyone else's because you're playing a completely different game. The entire concept of success in trading needs to be redefined in your mind. Success isn't measured by whether you made money today. Success is measured by whether you executed your plan regardless of outcome. You can follow your rules perfectly and lose money today. That's a successful day. You can break your rules and make money today. That's an unsuccessful day because you reinforced bad habits that will cost you dearly in the future. This is perhaps the most difficult mental shift for traders to make. We're conditioned to judge results, not process. But in trading, process is everything, and results are just noise in the short term. Let's address the reality that most new traders face multiple full market cycles before they become consistently profitable. This isn't because trading is impossibly difficult. It's because it takes time to develop the psychological conditioning required to execute under pressure. A bull market teaches you one set of lessons. A bear market teaches you different lessons. Volatility expansion teaches you how to manage risk when the market goes crazy. Trading ranges teach you patience. Each market environment exposes different psychological weaknesses, and you need to experience them all to develop a complete psychological toolkit. Many traders get discouraged when they're not profitable in their first year, or even their second year. They see this as failure. But every experienced trader knows that time in the market is required to develop the psychological resilience that separates professionals from amateurs. You need to experience the pain of a big loss to truly internalize why risk management matters. You need to experience the frustration of missing a big move because you followed your rules to understand why discipline pays off long term. These lessons cannot be learned from books. They have to be lived. The concept of losing to learn is fundamental to trader development. Every loss is data. Every mistake is a lesson, but only if you approach them with the right mindset. If you view losses as personal failures, you'll become defensive. You'll blame the market. You'll blame your indicators. You'll blame everything except the actual problem, which is usually your execution. Professional traders view losses as their best teachers. They analyze losing trades more thoroughly than winning trades because losses reveal where their system or execution broke down. They're not looking to assign blame. They're looking to find opportunities for improvement. This is why treating trading like a business rather than gambling is crucial. A business owner doesn't expect to make money every day. They understand quarterly and annual performance matters. They track metrics. They analyze what's working and what's not. They adjust their approach based on data, not on feelings. Yet most retail traders trade like they're at a casino, expecting every bet to pay off, getting frustrated when it doesn't, letting emotions drive decision after decision. The moment you start treating trading as a professional endeavor requiring systematic approaches and long-term thinking, your results will improve dramatically. The role of confidence in trading psychology deserves special attention. Because it's widely misunderstood, traders often confuse confidence with certainty. They think confidence means being sure the market will do what they think it will do. That's not confidence. That's delusion. Real confidence in trading is being certain you can handle whatever the market throws at you. It's knowing that regardless of whether this trade wins or loses, you'll follow your plan. It's trusting that your system has an edge, and that edge will express itself over sufficient volume. It's believing in your ability to manage risk effectively so that no single trade or string of trades can destroy your account. This type of confidence comes from preparation and experience. You develop confidence by doing the work. You backtest your strategy extensively so you know its win rate, average winner, average loser, maximum drawdown, and expectancy. You forward test it in live markets with small size so you can experience executing it in real time. You maintain a journal that shows you following your rules consistently. You build a track record that proves to yourself that you can be disciplined. Each of these elements adds a brick to the foundation of genuine confidence. Without this foundation, what appears to be confidence is actually either hope or arrogance, and the market will expose both brutally. Self-awareness becomes the ultimate competitive advantage in trading. Most traders never develop it. They repeat the same mistakes over and over because they're not aware they're making them. They blame external factors for internal failures. Professional traders are brutally honest with themselves. They recognize when they're frustrated and likely to make emotional decisions. They acknowledge when they're overconfident and need to pull back. They notice when they're afraid and forcing themselves to push through that fear when they should probably sit out. This level of self-awareness requires constant monitoring of your internal state. Before you enter a trade, you should be asking yourself why you're taking it and how you're feeling. If your answer involves emotion like wanting revenge, needing to make back losses, feeling bored, or being overly excited, you probably shouldn't take that trade. Developing a pre-trade routine helps create psychological consistency. Professional athletes use routines before every performance to get themselves into the right mental state. Traders need the same thing. Your routine might involve reviewing your trading plan, checking that the setup meets all your criteria, calculating your position size, and verifying your stop loss and profit target. This routine serves two purposes. First, it ensures you're following your process. Second, it gives your mind a familiar pattern that signals it's time to focus and execute. Over time, this routine becomes automatic, reducing the cognitive load of making trading decisions and limiting the opportunity for emotion to interfere. The concept of a growth mindset versus fixed mindset applies powerfully to trading psychology. Traders with fixed mindsets believe they either have trading talent or they don't. When they face challenges or losses, they see it as evidence they're not cut out for trading. Traders with growth mindsets believe skills are developed through effort and learning. When they face challenges or losses, they see opportunities to improve. Which mindset do you think leads to profitability? The trader who quits after their first big loss because they've decided they don't have what it takes, or the trader who analyzes that loss, learns from it, adjusts their approach, and comes back stronger? Your mindset determines whether obstacles stop you or strengthen you. Risk of ruin is a mathematical concept that has profound psychological implications. It refers to the probability that you'll lose your entire trading capital. Aggressive position sizing and lack of risk management increase your risk of ruin. Conservative position sizing and strict risk management decrease it. But here's the psychological component. Knowing your risk of ruin affects how you trade. If you're risking 5% per trade with no maximum drawdown rules, your risk of ruin is high. This knowledge, even if unconscious, will make you trade fearfully. You know deep down that a bad streak could wipe you out. This fear will cause you to exit good trades early, hesitate on valid entries, and make panicked decisions. If you're risking 1% per trade with strict loss limits, your risk of ruin is minimal. This allows you to trade with confidence because you know you're not going to blow up your account. The psychological safety net that proper risk management provides cannot be overvalued. When you know you can survive 50 consecutive losses, individual losses stop being threatening. You can take valid setups without fear because even if you're wrong, you're not in danger. This mental freedom is what allows traders to execute their systems without hesitation. Amateur traders think their problem is finding better entries or exits. Professional traders know their problem was always psychological. Let's discuss the uncomfortable truth about trading communities and social media. Surrounding yourself with other traders can be valuable for education and support, but it can also be psychologically destructive. When you're constantly exposed to other people's trades, especially their winners, it distorts your perception of what normal trading looks like. You start comparing your results to cherry-picked highlights. You see someone posting about their 1,000% return, and you feel inadequate about your 20%. You don't see their losses. You don't see their blown accounts. You only see what they choose to show. This creates unrealistic expectations and pressure that undermines your psychological state. Professional traders focus on their own performance metrics and largely ignore what everyone else is doing. They're not trying to match someone else's returns. They're trying to execute their own edge consistently. This requires blocking out the noise. If engaging with trading social media or trading communities causes you to doubt your approach, to feel inadequate, or to make decisions based on what others are doing, you need to step back. Your psychology is too important to compromise for the sake of feeling connected to a community. The relationship between trading and your life outside trading matters more than most traders realize. If you're trading to escape problems in your personal life, trading will fail. If you're trading because you desperately need the money, trading will fail. If you're trading for validation or to prove something to yourself or others, trading will fail. Trading magnifies psychological issues. Whatever dysfunction exists in your life will express itself in your trading. This is why successful traders often talk about having balance in their lives. They have relationships, hobbies, interests outside trading. They've addressed their emotional baggage. They don't use trading as therapy or escape. They approach it as a business that requires a clear mind to execute properly. Your identity as a trader needs careful consideration. If you define yourself entirely by your trading results, you create a psychological trap. On good days, you feel great about yourself. On bad days, you feel worthless. This emotional roller coaster makes consistent execution impossible. Professional traders separate their self-worth from their trading performance. They trade because it's what they do, not because it's who they are. This might seem like a subtle distinction, but it's massive. When trading is just one aspect of your life, rather than the entirety of your identity, losses stop being devastating. Personal failures and become simple professional setbacks. The end game of all this psychological development is reaching a state where you can trade without attachment to outcome. You're focused entirely on execution. You trust your edge. You manage your risk. You take valid setups when they appear. You cut losers without hesitation. You let winners run according to your plan. You do all of this without experiencing emotional swings based on whether individual trades work out. This might sound robotic or emotionless, but it's actually the opposite. It's being so secure in your process that you don't need emotional validation from the market. You're free to simply execute without the psychological baggage that crushes most traders. The path from losing trader to profitable trader is fundamentally a psychological journey disguised as a technical one. You can learn every indicator, every pattern, every strategy in existence, but if you don't develop the mental discipline to execute them consistently, you'll join the 95% who fail. The great news is that unlike market conditions, which you cannot control, your psychology is entirely within your power to develop. It requires honest self-assessment, consistent effort, and the willingness to change patterns that no longer serve you. But every trader who has made this transformation will tell you the same thing. Fixing your psychology was the single most important thing they did for their trading career. So the question isn't whether you can become a consistently profitable trader. The question is whether you're willing to do the uncomfortable psychological work required to get there. Are you willing to examine your relationship with money, success, and failure? Are you willing to develop the discipline to follow your rules, even when every instinct screams at you to do otherwise? Are you willing to view losses as business expenses rather than personal failures? Are you willing to wait patiently for your edge rather than forcing trades? Are you willing to focus on process over outcomes even when it feels like you're not making progress? These are not easy questions, and they don't have easy answers, but answering them honestly and working on whatever you find is the real path to profitable trading. The market will always be there, offering opportunities. The only question is whether you'll be psychologically prepared to take them.